huge amounts of pessimism. Whenever there's a lot of pessimism, it often leads to a rally. If something happens in Ukraine, there'll be a big rally.
All right, Jim, going back to safe havens, gold, as we know, is supposed to be a safe haven, particularly in times of economic turmoil and geopolitical tensions. We certainly have that. Now, granted, gold has performed better than other asset classes. It's holding its value better, down about 7% year to date compared to the S&P 500, as we've mentioned, down 20%, the NASDAQ down 30%. So gold holding its own compared to other assets. And it does have to contend with a very strong dollar. But do you think that gold should be doing better in this environment?
Well, again, it happens many times that when you have assets going down, nearly all assets go down. I mean, if you remember 2008, gold went down a lot at first. Then, of course, it hit bottom earlier and skyrocketed after that. It's another asset that we all like to buy or sell. I own a lot of gold, as you know. I'm not buying now. And if I will buy more silver soon, probably, or gold soon, probably. But no, in my view, and I'm a horrible market timer, but in my view, it's a normal correction in a time of despair, despite the time when people are worried about assets. And when they're worrying about assets, they throw everything out the window. And if people get margin calls, they have to sell anything they can to meet their margin calls.
So what is the level that you would consider buying gold?
That's a good question. I'll have to watch Kitco. No, the answer is the market will tell me. If I see hysteria in the market and panic and everybody's saying, get rid of my gold, that would probably make me want to buy gold again.
So not a price level that you're watching for?
No, it depends on what the market will tell me the price. I hope the market will tell me the price. I'll still get it wrong, but I hope the market will give me guidance.
Yeah.
And people will say, wait a minute. An international medium of exchange is supposed to be neutral. That's not the way it's supposed to work. So for many reasons, many countries are now looking, even our allies are now looking for something to compete because it could happen to them. You know, all of a sudden Washington could say, you're finished. So for political reasons, it's accelerating the move to looking for a competitor to the dollar. And of course, the economic reason. We're the largest debtor nation in world history. I'm not the only person who knows that. The whole world knows that historically, big currencies, major top currencies change every 100 years or so. So for political and economic reasons, it's already in process. And this may make it worse because Washington has said, we'll take your money away from you if we don't like you. Many people have had their assets seized by the U.S. because they don't like them now.
So in the long run, the weaponizing of the dollar serves against the dollar in terms of maintaining its dominance. But in the short term, we have the dollar performing incredibly well, stronger than the euro at the moment. Why is that?
Well, I own a lot of U.S. dollars, as we've discussed before. The reason I own them, not because it's a sound currency, it's a disaster going forward. But in times of turmoil, people look for a safe haven. And for historic reasons, many people think the dollar is a safe haven. It's not, but they think it is. So I own a lot of U.S. dollars. U.S. dollar is going to get overpriced, might even turn into a bubble, depending on how bad things get. But somewhere along the line, and getting sooner rather than later, and I don't like saying it because I'm an American, but more and more people are accelerating the search for something to compete with the dollar. I don't know if you know what it's going to be, don't announce it on the air because I'm looking for it every day. Maybe a commodity-backed SDR or something. I'm skeptical, but who knows what they might try.
What does a bubble in the dollar look like?
Oh, the dollar right now is at par with the euro. The euro could go to 70 cents. You know, the euro could go down a lot against the dollar. That would be a big, big bubble in the U.S. dollar.
But what is your outlook at large, especially as the Fed tightens more aggressively?
I wish I could quote you all of the time. Washington has said we're not in a recession when we were. They didn't even know it, that the recession had started. And likewise, central bank people. My outlook is that if we have peace, if something, There's a lot of pessimism around right now, huge amounts of pessimism. Whenever there's a lot of pessimism, it often leads to a rally. If something happens in Ukraine, there'll be a big rally. Oil will go down, grains will go down, stocks and everything will go up for a while. I don't know what will cause the rally, but we're probably going to have a big rally. That rally is, I hope I'm smart enough to sell that rally, because that's probably the last big rally. It could be a very big rally, but that's probably the last time.
And that would or could be triggered by a resolution to the conflict in the war in Ukraine, is what you could see as the possible trigger for a rally.
The obvious for me would be if something happens in Ukraine. I have no idea. I don't have any inside information, but if something happens, that would cause a big rally.
But you're saying we're currently in a bear market, but not necessarily the one that you anticipate will be the worst in your lifetime.
When it's worst in my lifetime, you'll know it.
It's not now? We're not in the middle of it now?
No, this is not the worst bear market in my life. This is nothing. This is nothing. Oh my gosh. I have seen some astonishing bear markets, not just in the US, all over the world.
But you don't think that we're in the beginning of the worst bear market of your lifetime?
If you want to define it that way, yes. But if there were peace, we might make new highs. Okay. But still, that would not negate the bear market.
Well, in terms of the outlook of the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, they think that inflation globally will likely be tamed by next year when rate hikes start to work. The IMF saying that global interest rates will keep rising until 2023, and then heated prices will begin to cool in response to actions from central banks. Do you agree?
I've been investing a long time. I have never known the IMF to be right about anything. I don't even bother. I mean, the best thing we could all do is abolish the IMF. We're not, because there are too many people who make money off the IMF. They've never been right about anything.
Abolish the IMF, huh?
Yeah, we'd be better off. That would be a way towards solving some of our problems. We abolish the IMF, the World Bank. Well, we'd be on the way.
Why do you think that would necessarily help solve some of the global economic problems?
Money we spend on the World Bank and the IMF every year, huge amounts of money. All those guys that are bureaucrats who work, they love working for the IMF. They get tax-free pensions, they get high salaries, they get all sorts of perks. They think it is heaven. You know who's paying for it?
Yeah.
Us.
Well, taxpayers in the US, global taxpayers, just to play devil's advocate here, don't we need global bodies to coordinate things on the world stage?
It would be wonderful. If you can get a good one, do it. The IMF ain't it. You should go back and read some of the IMF's annual reports, some of the things they have said, and you would be stunned at how many times they said, Southeast Asia is great. And then the next year there's a gigantic crisis in Southeast Asia. I could go on and on.